we are looking at the T account of the investment in ordinary shares in Jabulani Limited, and specifically at the transactions on 30 June and 1 July. On 30 June, we need to do a fair value adjustment because just before a rights issue is recognized, we have to fair value our shares, our investment, at the cum rights value, that higher value, cumulative of the knowledge that a rights issue is going to take place. How do we do that calculation? It is done in calc number 3. We take the fair value of all the shares that you have. So you go and calculate how many shares do you have at that moment. They give us the fair value of R1.80. You compare that to the carrying amount. What is your current balance in your investment in ordinary shares T account? And that balance needs to move either upwards or downwards as a fair value adjustment. All fair value adjustments in this category go through profit or loss. In this case, the balance was lower than the fair value, so it was an upwards movement. So you would say debit your investment account, and the fair value adjustment goes through profit and loss as an income. Once you have done the fair value adjustment, the shares that are part of this investment in ordinary shares of Jabulani Limited are now in your records at the higher value, the fair value at that point, which is the cum rights value, cumulative of the knowledge that a rights issue is going to take place. The next day, 1 July, the rights get issued. These rights are a new financial instrument. They need their own T account. It's a separate investment that you have. You now also have rights, not only shares anymore. These rights in terms of financial instruments initially need to be recognized at fair value. The problem is you don't know the fair value because they have just been issued. They are not trading it. So you derive the value of the rights from the value of the shares, which means you will take an amount out of the shares T account and move that amount to a new T account, the rights. So on the 1st of July, you have a new T account, the rights, and from the ordinary shares, you will transfer an amount to the new T account, the rights. The value of the rights on initial recognition, that 348 Rand, is derived from the value of the shares. If we have a look at the valuation technique, this is done in calculation number 4. So what we do in this calculation, we start with the number of shares that we had immediately before the rights issue, and we use the value per share, which is the cum rights value, that high value, with the knowledge that a rights issue is coming. So we say our investment currently is 10,440 Rand. Then we play what if. What if we exercise all the rights and we do what the right gives us the right to do? We go and buy more shares. How many additional shares could we buy if we got these rights and we exercised them all and we bought the shares? So we do a calculation and we say, well, for every 4 shares you currently have, you get 1 right, because that was the ratio that was announced. So you will get 1,450 rights. But I don't want to know how many rights will I get. In my valuation technique, I'm interested in the shares. So every 1 right gives you the right to buy 1 share. So you will get an additional 1,450 shares if you were to exercise all the rights. It's not saying you are going to. We are playing what if. Please remember, 1 right can also give you the right to buy 2 shares or 3 shares or maybe 5 shares. Your calculation does not need to be 1 right to 1 share. So once we know how many possible shares we can get if we were to exercise all the rights. We multiply those shares by the value per share that you would need to pay in terms of the rights issue. Remember, they give you the right to come and buy shares at an amount that is cheaper than the market value. In this case, they said you would pay R1.50. So your investment would go up with R2,175 if you were to exercise all the rights and if you were to buy these shares at R1.50. That means your total investment will be R12,615 for how many shares? If you were to buy all of them, for 7,250 shares. Therefore, the value per share will go from the R1.80 to R1.74. If there are more shares available, your value per share goes down. So your value per share will drop to R1.74. This is called the X rights value. The value of purely shares. If you take out the rights have now been issued. They are a separate financial instrument. The shares are now trading again without the knowledge of a rights issue. You are not going to get a right now. The rights have already been issued. So the shares are trading X rights. And that value we calculate with this valuation technique. Is that exactly what will happen in the market? Probably not. Is that a problem? No, because at some point we will do a fair value adjustment to the market value because we are in the category at fair value. So if we want to go and calculate what is the amount that I need to transfer out of my shares account into my rights account so that I can derive the value for the rights, I will say my shares will go from R1.80 cum rights value to R1.74 X rights value, which I calculated through the valuation technique. It's still based on a fair value. The R1.80 was really the value in the market. So it's a market-based value. That means all your existing shares will go down with 6 cents per share. They will go from R1.80 to R1.74. And that drop of 6 cents per share is the value you transfer from your shares account to your rights account. So if you look in your ordinary shares account, your shares were at R1.80 each. We are taking them down to the X rights value of R1.74. To take them down, I need to take something out, something on the credit side of this T account so that it reduces to that R1.74. Where do I take it? To the rights account. This is the value of the rights on day one that I derive from my shares. So if we have a look in the rights account, we bring in the amount of 348. We know that we received 1,450 rights. It's rights at this point. We are in the rights T account. So you can go and calculate for every 4 ordinary shares that you had, you got 1 right. So how many rights did you get? 1,450. You know the total rand amount. You know the number of rights. Therefore, the value of 1 right initially on day 1 is 24 cents. Is that really the value that will be in the market once these rights start trading? Maybe, maybe not. Does that matter? No, because at some point we will do a fair value adjustment.